Welcome back to my channel. This is Passion Theory. Hang on, I've still got this square everywhere. Alright. And, this is where I share with you some of my passions, and sometimes not, sometimes life stuff. So I'm gonna, do a little story time about, why I went no contact with my mother, just recently. Oh, also, these cool things, yeah, there's no way to make them food safe without firing them in a big kiln, and I'm looking into getting some of the correct glazes and finding a place that will let me use their kiln to do that. A lot of places will, but the glazes for this are kind of expensive, so I might just I'm still deciding if I want them to just be display pieces, and then I would just write not food safe really large on the bottom so everybody knows, even if I sell it somewhere else. And I would make sure to advertise that when I'm selling it, and if anyone bought it for me in a vendor setting, I would be like, hey, just so you know, not food safe, it's for holding things. So see if I can get my tripod set up. I should have done that beforehand, really, but hey, I'm still new to this. Hang on. Okay, it's not like the prettiest backdrop. You can kind of see my workout bike thing behind me, but it'll work. And that was like instantaneous for you guys, and it wasn't for me, and I never know where I'm supposed to look. Okay, camera's there. Camera's there. Look there. I always want to look at myself on the screen. Anyway, so let's see. There was a lot of things. Oh, yes. Forgot last time. Trigger warning. I talk about domestic violence and abuse. Is that what it is called when a parent abuses you? It's still domestic abuse, right? Child abuse? Anyway, for depictions of that. So, trigger warning for that. I'll put it at the beginning as well, and in the little drop-down description thing. So there you go. I should just say that. Trigger warning, that's why. Bye. So it's been a while. I will hopefully not cry. And I've worked some stuff out. I'm actually going to be taking a little vacation with my sister, and I'm going to go stay at her house for a while. Not that my husband's not supportive or anything. It's just, I really want to be with my sister for a little bit, and she kind of was like, that's it, I'm coming to get you. And it's been a while since we've hung out, so so yes, I have a good support system. I'm getting through it, and I'm fine. But basically, me and my mom don't see eye to eye on anything morally, politically, anything. We're not opposite ends of the spectrum, but we're close. And like, I can't talk rationally with her about things, and I try not to talk to her at all. So but that's not why I cut off ties with her. I cut off contact with her because of how I was treated and raised my whole life, and hang on just one second. Okay. And it was just like the last straw on the camel's back that broke the camel's back, basically. So the long and short of it is, she was making posts on Facebook about being glad or agreeing with Roe v. Wade being overturned. And you know what? If you don't like that, that I'm pro-choice, then you don't have to watch my videos. That's fine. Or you can watch my videos if you want to. Just don't leave nasty comments. I'm just gonna block them. So that's all there is to it. I'm just gonna delete them. This is not what this is mainly focused on, but basically I just contacted her and said that was kind of hypocritical of her, since she had had some, she had some abortions before, for medical reasons, and that, other people needed to have them for medical reasons. And she said, well, I believe it's fine for medical reasons, but not just for, for birth control. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. That's not what the laws that got passed are about. In some places, they are banning it for medical reasons. And I did not say it in a nice way. I did kind of attack her, like, for being hypocritical. I did. I came at it in a very not mature way. I did not curse at her, but I did do a low blow, I think. But I had 20 plus years of pent up rage and anger at her for various other things, and literally I had never ever really spoken up to her or talked back to her or expressed my full opinion to her about anything ever in my life. This was the first time, right? I didn't curse at her, and I was trying to keep everything, like, I wasn't nice, but at the same time I wasn't cursing at her. I didn't call her names, except for I said that it was hypocritical of her. I did call her a hypocrite. That is a name. I said it was hypocritical of her to deny rights to other women, or to be happy and celebrating that rights are being denied to other women for procedures she had done. So this is not the main argument here. She got mad. She started cursing at me. I didn't curse back at her. I don't believe. I may have. I was really mad, and I'm not going to go back. I've blocked her, so I'm not going to go back and read the post, but I'm pretty sure I did not curse at her. But as she has always done, whenever we have any kind of disagreement, and I mean a small disagreement, she used to make my dad be the peacekeeper, but he's no longer with us. He passed a few years back. And so she called one of my cousins, who I have a passing relationship with, and he was telling me that I have to forgive her and I have to apologize to her. Well, not forgive, but I have to apologize to her because she's my mom. And I was like, thinking about it, I'm like, she hasn't been my mom since I was 6 years old. So, I think what happened was, really, I just wanted an excuse of some kind to not have to ever talk to her again. So, I'll tell you some of the things I remember, like some instances I remember. My mom is very much a person who is into spanking children for punishment, corporal punishment. I was spanked with spoons, belts, her hand, all whatever was around. And not just like a couple hits. Like, it was one of those things where she would go on a full-on rant, and every single word, it was like, don't you ever do that, that kind of thing, for a long time. So for example, that, as bad as it is, that didn't bother me as much as the fact that when she's angry, she loses her temper in such a way. Like, when she's spanking me like that, then usually she'd actually calmed down. But sometimes she would lose her anger in such a way that I was terrified she was going to kill me accidentally. Like just on accident. For example, there was a time I was staying the night at my friend's house, and my friend lived next door to one of my other friends. And I was staying the night at my friend A's house, okay? And friend B lived across the street, and friend B was a guy, and my mom knew him and everything. And friend C is best friends with friend B, and I'm best friends with friend A, and we're all a little friend group, and B and C are both guys, right? Well, C was staying the night at B's house, And so me and friend A went over to B's house so we could all hang out together. My mom came over with my clothes because we lived just down the street. And so I was like, oh, hey, I'm going to spend the night at A's house. And my mom was like, okay, and brought my clothes over. She's like, I'll bring your clothes over later. So it was like 11 o'clock and she came over to bring my clothes over. And I was like 10-ish, 10, 11. And my friend A's mom didn't really like me that much. So she basically said she didn't know where I was, but that the last she saw me, I was walking around with some guy. Or at least that's what my mom said. My mom said that friend A's mom told her that I was wandering the streets with some man. Like, A, that doesn't make sense. And B, my mom knew A, like B and C, and was fine with them. If she would have just given her, my mom, the boy's name and said we were over across the street at B's house, everything would have been fine. But when I got home, because when I came back over to A's house with A, A's mom was like, hey, your mom was over here and she's pissed and she's looking for you. You best go home. So I went home and she didn't let me say a word to her. She just started hitting the crap out of me across the face. And I mean, like, I fell. She hit me so, backhanded me so hard across the face that I fell over the back of the couch. Like, I hit the couch and flipped over the back of it. That's how hard she hit a 10-year-old. Even if I was wandering around with some man she didn't know, why is her first response, instead of asking me what happened or making sure I was okay, she didn't even ask if I was okay. For all she knew, I had been, like, kidnapped and, SA'd, and she didn't know. She didn't even ask if I was okay. She just slapped the shit out of me. Oh, crap. she just slapped me over and over and wouldn't let me get a word in edgewise. And that's what I mean for an example of when she was so mad that I was afraid for my life. And it happened several times. One time, and she would also start stuff for no reason. Like, for example, one time I had to work with my parents. We were all the same. Like, my aunt owned a restaurant and we were a fast food restaurant. And my parents were the managers there. And I was about 17 and I was working there with my mom on a shift. And I was just sitting there talking to her, and for whatever reason, she like lunged at my face and went like, and like bit like right here, really close to my face. And we weren't arguing or anything. It was out of nowhere. She just did it. I think she thought it was funny or something, and it freaked me out because, I've been abused my whole life. And like it, I still flinch when women raise their hands, like older women, if they move their hands near my head, I still flinch. But when she bit at me, I like freaked out and like jumped and like pushed her forward a little bit, like to give myself space because I had legitimately freaked out. And then she told, remember, this is in the front where customers and the other workers can see she did this. And then she screamed and started cursing me out in front of everyone, screaming at the top of her lungs about how I hit her and how she would have never laid her hands on her mother and things like that. And I did not hit her. I did push her out of fear, but I did not hit her. And I left to go to the back room so I could be safe and so I wouldn't be being screamed at in front of everyone. And and she followed me, and I was in a chair on the phone with my dad trying to get him to pick me up and telling him what had happened. And she was just screaming at me in the chair and wouldn't let me leave, and like had me in this corner in this rolly chair to the point that the other workers came to move her to let me go, and so I could go outside, and so she couldn't keep me in one spot and corner me. Luckily, she didn't touch me at that time, but I think the last thing that really stands out to me, because it happened daily. So when something happens to you daily, you don't remember so much, like every incident, but these are just things that really stuck with me. I'll say the first thing I remember, the first time I remember being scared she was gonna hurt me, I was about 6, and I don't remember what I did, but I remember thinking in my head that like as she was hitting me, I was like, she's not stopping. Is she ever gonna stop? Is she gonna kill me? And then that night, I wondered what the next thing was. And, yeah, so then I remember one time I back talked to her. I was like 9 and I was really tired. I don't remember why. I just got like no sleep the night before. And I was on the couch in the morning before. I think I'd been sleeping on the couch. Maybe I'd had a nightmare. And I used to have really bad nightmares. And I was sleeping on the couch because I remember I was on the couch and my blankets were still on and I hadn't gotten dressed by the time she wanted me to for school. And she turned and looked at me from one side of the hall and she said, "Move like you have life in you." So I had had enough because I was so tired. And I had done like, ooh, like that at her. The only time I had ever done anything sarcastic like that to her. I just looked at her and I was like, you know, I moved. And then she came over and grabbed me and started hitting me, and I remember just begging and begging her to stop and telling her I was sorry. And then the last thing that happened was or one of the last things that happened was I had a full scholarship because of my grades to college. And so I didn't move out when I turned 18 because I couldn't afford to, and I wanted to go to college. And so I stayed with them. I stayed with her. And she had cursed me out about a week prior, and I already had plans to move. At this point, I was 20, and I had 2 more years of college left for free. And I decided that I needed to leave. The free college wasn't worth it. I needed to move. And I was trying to make things peaceful up until I moved. But she had cursed me out, and I was like, hey, I'm an adult. Please don't talk to me that way. And she apologized for once in her life and agreed to not do that again. And I was sitting on the couch with my dad, and we were watching TV, and I think she thought he was asleep or something, because she was asleep in her room. But he was the one that had the TV on, and we had it on loud for whatever reason, or she thought it was loud, and she screamed at me from the other room to turn the effing TV down. And I said, hey, I will turn it down, but please don't curse at me, and I'll turn it down when you ask me without cursing at me, because that's what we had agreed to. And she came in from her bedroom and picked me up off the couch by my hair, pulled me off the couch by my hair, screamed in my face, called me B-word, and things I don't want to get, like, I don't know, in trouble on YouTube, but she called me, a female dog, and she screamed in my face and pulled me the living room into the kitchen, which wasn't far, but still, and threw me down on the ground, and then walked back into her room. And so I got up in tears and started packing my things because I still had a week before I was supposed to leave. But I was going to go stay with a friend, find a couch somewhere I was done. I was just going to get on a train and not, because the plan was we were going to get a little U-Haul and pack all my stuff up in it and drive from Florida to where I live now. But I was like, nope, I'm getting on an airplane. I'm just, or a train rather. I'm going to just get on a train and I'm just going to take one suitcase. So I locked myself in my room to pack the suitcase and my cat. And my mom starts banging on my bedroom door and screaming at me about how my dad was vomiting because of me, because of my behavior, because I was packing and wouldn't let anybody in my room. And later he came and he told me that that wasn't true. She was basically gaslighting me. He had been throwing up because he was so shocked that she had done that to me. And this whole time I thought he knew. But she was real careful to only do it when we were alone. And yeah, he knew she spanked me, but he also believed in spanking. And he had spanked me before. But it wasn't like, it was controlled and not out of anger. It's like he really thought that that was what was best. And you could always tell the difference when someone's hitting you out of anger or just spanking you. I don't believe in spanking at all, but regardless, even if you do, there is a difference between pulling your child around by the hair and throwing them and hitting them so hard they fly over furniture and you know, smacking their butt a few times. But yeah, he told me that he would make sure and watch her and keep me safe, and that if she did it again, or tried to, he would stop her and he would take me and he would leave her. And that whole time I was secretly mad at him the whole time because I thought he knew and he was letting it happen. But my dad was really like the nicest, sweetest person. And he literally maybe spanked me 3 times, maybe 6 my whole life that I can even remember. It was almost always my mom. And when he did it, it was because I was putting myself in some kind of danger, and he wanted to really do it home. And I sound like I'm making excuses for him. He made mistakes, but he apologized to me for them later. Like, later he said that, you know, it was wrong to do. She's never once apologized. If I ever bring it up... Oh no, I bought my thing. If I ever bring it up, she tells me that that it wasn't as bad as I say it is, because I'm still alive. And it's not like she ever broke any of my bones. But I didn't go no contact with her for my dad, because I knew if I did, he would be in a very tough position, and I wanted to still be able to talk to him. And then he passed a few years ago, and I decided to stay in contact with my mom for my son, so they could talk and maybe have some kind of a relationship when he was older, and I wouldn't let her be around him alone. And after my dad had died, about 6 months after he had died, so my mom had some time to grieve, I flew her in to see me and my kiddo and paid for a week of a hotel and for her to do whatever she wanted here with us so she could see him And in that time, you know, kiddo has problems. He has ADHD and things like that. And he wasn't listening well enough to her or to me. I don't honestly remember what he was playing with a dinosaur instead of listening when I was asking him a question. And her that was misbehaving, so she grabbed him like this, like with her thumb right here on his collarbone and her hand right here on his neck, and pulled him in close to her and started whispering something into his ear. I couldn't hear. I was only like 8 feet away. And her thumb was digging like this down into his skin, and the look on his face, he was terrified. No one had ever treated him that way. And of course, I got up and put myself in between her and him and pushed her off and told her she is never to talk to or touch him that way, or she'll never see him again. And oh, and I forgot to mention that that time she grabbed my son, despite telling me, "Oh, I was just trying to talk to him. I wasn't grabbing him hard." He had a bruise for 3 days. And 1, I could tell she was grabbing him hard. And 2, he had a bruise for 3 days. So yeah, she grabbed him hard. Anyway, I should have gotten no contact then, but I was like, she doesn't know better. She's still grieving. I made so many excuses for her, but really it was because I was afraid. Deep down, it was just because I'm still afraid of her. And so, really, the last thing that happened was really just the last straw of just years of being terrified. I mean, I've been at work, and one of my bosses was an older woman, and she did that thing, you know, where like friends will sometimes do that, like light sock in your arm, like, you know, ha ha ha, like that, and it's a joke. She did that, and I just burst out crying. And for a while, I didn't know exactly where I was or what was going on. I was just terrified. I didn't know why. Yeah, it turns out I have a lot of pent-up trauma. Who'd have thought? But yeah, I'm still afraid of her. I'm afraid she's going to threaten to hurt herself. I'm afraid she's going to get the rest of the family to try to harass me. I'm afraid she's going to show up, even though I live across the country, and do something to me, even though I know that's not a rational thing to fear. Do I honestly think she could do that? No, but I'm scared she will. I think that's why I didn't go no contact with her sooner. It's because I was just still too afraid. And I'm still afraid. But that's okay. It's okay to be afraid. And still protect yourself. Mentally and physically. But yeah, so that is why I went no contact with her. And the reason I'm even putting this up here is in case you're going through the same thing or something similar happens, and people are going to tell you you should forgive them, and people are going to tell you because it's your mom, you know, you only get one mom, and you have to forgive them, you have to apologize. You don't have to do those things. You really don't. I don't have to. You don't have to. Do what is going to keep you safe. Okay? Keep yourself safe. Mentally too. Not just physically. But one, I don't, you know, I don't know how to say this, but this channel's been very cathartic. It's been very helpful with my depression. It's been very helpful with my anxiety. I don't think I could have done that. I don't think I could have gone no contact with my mom if it wasn't for like my cleaning videos and everybody just cheering alongside me and me seeing all of you guys. Also telling me how sometimes I encourage you to get through the rough times too. So it feels like I have a bunch of friends. I mean, I have friends in real life I can talk to and things, but it's like, why would you share this with the internet? And it's because other people are going through it too. And I think, I don't know, more just in case someone else is going through it, so they can see they're not alone and that you're gonna be okay. I'm upset, I'm crying, but really most of it's tears of relief and just sadness at relationships that could have been. She could have chosen to be a decent mother. She could have chosen to get help for her anger issues, like I did for mine. I could have had a better relationship. Even then, I had a very good relationship with my dad, but it could have been even better because I could have not been harboring this secret resentment, thinking that he was letting things happen and he didn't even know. But yeah, I think it's more grief over loss of things that could have been, but mostly relief, a little bit of fear. But I'm gonna go do something now that's gonna make me feel better. This did make me feel a lot better though, actually. I think a good rant always makes you feel better a little bit. Maybe I'll take this down. Maybe I won't post it. I don't know. But make sure to go find things that make you happy and make room for your passions. I'm gonna go make some room for mine. See you guys next time. Hopefully I'll have a video that's if you're not into these kinds of videos, by the way, you can always feel free to skip them. You're not my therapist. You do not have to listen to this. This is only if you really are interested in what's going on in my life. If you're just here for cleaning videos, I understand that. I understand not everybody wants to watch me play video games. I understand not everybody wants to watch me do crafts. I understand not, some people are just here for the cleaning. Some people are just here for my various things that I do. And some people I do know have said that they want to know my ups and downs. It's kind of, my channel is here is kind of also a record of my depression and anxiety, and this is what some days look like. It's not all like cheerful cleaning. Some days you can't stop crying, but some days you can. Some days you can. Take care of yourselves.